So that you don't work the solution through the answer. So this sheet titled Keep Counting will give us some more insight into problem solving. Now, the first problem of the sheet is about n-digit natural numbers. N-digit natural numbers. A1, A2, A3, An. These are n-digit natural numbers. And we want no two consecutive digits to be the same. We want no two consecutive digits to be the same. How many such natural numbers exist? Very clear. A1, for example, can be filled up in 9 ways. 1 to 9. Now, A2. See, there are 0 to 9 already, of which 1 is consumed here. So, 9 ways of filling up this. And again, this one should not match with this. So, there are 9 ways of filling up A3 and 9 ways of filling up An. So, that makes it 9 to power n ways in all. 9 to power n ways in all. Yes or no? Right? Are you there with me? How many 6-digit numbers exist which contain exactly 3 different digits, 1, 2 and 3? 6-digit natural numbers. This is a 6-digit natural number. Okay. What we want to do is, we want to create these natural numbers such that 1, 2, 3 are the only digits consumed. And each of these digits must appear at least once in this formation. 1, 2, 3 are used to constitute a 6-digit natural number, and the digits that each of these digits must appear exactly once. Yes or no? Right? Okay. Now, first of all, if there was no condition, if you have to constitute all 6-digit numbers using these 3 digits. 3 to power 6, because A1 could be any one of these 3. A2 could be any one of these 3. A3 could be any one of these 3. A6 could be any one of these 3. That makes it 3 to power 6. Yes or no? Now, let me find out amongst them ones that don't contain 1, ones that don't contain 2, ones that don't contain 3, ones that don't contain 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 1, ones that don't contain 1, 2 and 3, and deploy the principle of inclusion and exclusion. Okay. Number of these numbers, of these 3 to power 6, the number of numbers that don't contain 1, n1 represents what? The number of these 6-digit numbers that don't contain 1. That means they could contain 2 or 3. That means don't contain 1 means A1 could be filled up in 2 ways, A2 in 2 ways, A3 in 2 ways, A6 in 2 ways. So number of these 3 to the power 6 numbers that don't contain 1 is going to be 2 to the power 6. And is it not equal to the number of these numbers that don't contain 2? Is this also not equal to the number of these numbers that don't contain 3? Yes or no? Right? Now, number of these 3 to the power 6 numbers that don't contain 1 and 2. Only 1. That means those that contain only 3, there would be just one number. Number of these numbers that don't contain 2 and 3. 1. That don't contain 3 and 1. 1. Number of these numbers that don't contain 1 and 2 and 3. 0. Right? So the number of these numbers that don't contain 1 or 2 or 3. Number of these numbers that don't contain 1 or 2 or 3 from principle of inclusion exclusion would be like summation n1, which means n1 plus n2 plus n3, minus summation n1 and 2, that means 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, and then plus summation n1 and 2 and 3. Yes or no? So n1, each of these is 2 to the power 6. So n1 plus n2 plus n3 is 3 into 2 to the power 6. Now each of these 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, which are included in the summation, each one of these is 1. So that makes it 3. So that makes it 3 into 2 to the power 6 minus 1. Total numbers are 3 to the power 6. Of these 3 to the power 6 numbers, these many numbers don't contain at least one of them. 1 or 2 or 3. That means the remaining are how many? 3 to the power 6 minus these. Would contain all of them, 1, 2 and 3. 3 to the power 6 and all. And these are those that don't contain at least one of them, 1 or 2 or 3. So this would be the required count. How much does it turn out to be? 540? Okay. So this turns out to be 540 as suggested by you. Yes or no? Got it right? Number 3. The number of permutations of the digits 1, 2, 3, 9. These are digits 1, 2, 3, 9. We want to permute all of them. We want to permute these taken all at a time. In which? So first of all, there are in all 9 factorial permutations of these, isn't it? Unconditionally, 9 factorial permutations of these. But what I don't want is, I don't want 3, 4 to come in as a block in that permutation. I don't want 4, 5 to come. I don't want 6, 7, 8 to come in this 9 factorial permutations. Right? I don't want these to come. So what I do is, I find those cases in which at least one of them comes. Then from 9 factorial, I remove those cases in which at least one of them appear as a block. Then I get the required count. So NA means cases in which 3, 4 comes as a block. Now, if 3, 4 comes as a block, there are then these remaining 7 and this one. There are 8 entities in all, right? 1 except 3 and 4. If you exclude 3 and 4 from these 9, there are 7. And this is one single unit. So 7 and 1, 8 units to be permuted. In how many ways can you do that? 8 factorial ways. So cases in which 3, 4 comes as a block is 8 factorial. Okay. NB is cases in which 4, 5 comes as a block. 4, 5 comes as a block in 8 factorial ways. Yes or no? Cases in which NC means cases in which 6, 7, 8 comes as a block. So these 3, 6 entities and 1 entity. 7, 7 entities. So that happens in 7 factorial ways. Yes or no? Number of ways in which A and B come together. A and B coming together means 3, 4 and 4, 5 coming as a block. That means essentially 3, 4, 5 appearing. Cases in which 3, 4, 5 appears as a single unit. So then how many cases? 7, because 6 from there, 3, 9. So 6 and 1, 7 entities to be permuted in 7 factorial ways. Cases in which B and C. B and C means 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8. 2 units certainly come. So then these are 2 and 3, 5. So there are 4 remaining. 1, 5 and 1, 6. 6 building blocks. And they could be permuted in 6 factorial ways. Then N, C intersection A. Cases in which 3, 4 and 6, 7, 8 appear as a unit. How many cases? Same, 6 factorial cases. Huh? No. Why? They can float anywhere. 4, 5 comes as a block somewhere, 6, 7, 8 comes as a block somewhere else. They don't need to come together. But in this case, if 3, 4 and 4, 5 come as a block, then the only way they can come as a block is 3, 4, 5 comes as a unit. There is no option in this case. But for 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8, they need not be neighbors. They need not come one after the other. They can come anywhere floating in the permutation. Right? Number of cases in which A and B and C come together means 3, 4 and 4, 5 is like 3, 4, 5. 3, 4 and 4, 5 is like 3, 4, 5. And 6, 7, 8. These two come as a unit. How many? 5 factorial, because 3 and 3, 6. 3 units left from there. 4 and 1, 5. 5 units permuted in 5 factorial ways. Yes or no? So number of cases in which A or B or C, that means at least one of them would come, would be from principle of inclusion exclusion, summation Na, which is Na plus Nb plus Nc, Na plus Nb plus Nc, minus summation N A intersection B, that means AB, BC and Ca, plus summation N A intersection B intersection C. This would give me, so this is Na plus Nb plus Nc, this is NAB, BC, Ca, and this would be just one term, which would be A intersection B intersection C, just one term in this summation, which would be this. So you can do this calculation. This would give you the count in which at least one of them would appear as a unit. 3, 4, 4, 5 or 6, 7, 8. At least one of them would appear as a unit. And the total numbers are 9 factorial. From 9 factorial, what's the count you want to remove? You want to remove this count. So what you want to actually achieve is, from the total count, you want to remove those in which at least A or B or C will come. 9 factorial, which is the total count, minus those in which at least the group A or the group B or the group C will appear. That will give you the total count in which none of these will appear as a group. 3, 4, 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8. Yes or no? Has anyone done the calculations for this? Really? Is the answer right? How much is it? 283,560. Okay. Huh? No, I trusted you. That's why I wrote it. I mean, I always want a second opinion, not just with you, with someone else also. I would have done the same thing. So don't get too hard. Don't get emotional about it. Okay. So now what we have is 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look at these. And 3, 4. Okay. And 9. And 9. All right. So how many are these? These are 2. There are 7 more here. So now this 7 and 3, 4 as one single unit. That makes it 8 units. In 8 units, 3, 4 will appear as one single unit. So in how many ways can you arrange 8 units? 8 factorial ways. Got me? Similarly, the other things. Got me, no? No? 4. 5 balls of different colors. These are 5 balls of different colors. And there are 3 different boxes. These are 3 different boxes, B1, B2 and B3. I want to find the number of ways in which the balls could be placed in the boxes so that no box remains empty. I want to place the balls in the boxes so that no box remains empty. First of all, if there is no condition imposed. If there is no condition imposed, in how many ways can I place the balls in the boxes? C1 could be placed in any one of the 3 boxes. C2 could be placed in any one of the 3 boxes. C3 in any 3, C4 in any 3, C5 in any 3. So that makes it 3 to the power 5. Now, NB1 say is the number of ways in which box B1 remains empty. Number of ways in which B1 remains empty. That means B1 is excluded. So each of these balls could be arranged in 2 ways. In B2 or B3. C2 in 2 ways. C3 in 2 ways. C4 in 2 ways. C5 in 2 ways. So 2 into 2 into 2 into 2 into 2. That makes it 2 to the power 5. And is that also not equal to the number of ways in which B2 remains empty? Is that not equal to the number of ways in which B3 remains empty? Yes or no? Right? Now, number of ways in which B1 and B2 remain empty. Just one way. If B1 and B2 remain empty, all the 3 balls are put in B3. So, just one way. That's also the number of ways in which B2 and B3 remain empty. That's also the number of ways in which B3 and B1 remain empty. Yes or no? So, number of ways in which B1 or B2 or B3 remain empty, that from and what's the number of ways in which B1 and B2 and B3 remain empty? That's 0, obviously. Number of ways in which B1 or B2 or B3 remain empty is from principle of inclusion exclusion, summation n B1 minus summation n B1 and B2, B1 and B2 and B3, which anyways is 0, only one term in the last summation, that's 0. This is 3 into 2 to the power 5, and this is 3, right? One way, so minus 1, right? These are the number of ways in which at least one box remains empty, and the total number of ways are 3 to the power 5. From 3 to the power 5, I remove these cases in which at least one box remains empty, which is 3 into 2 to the power 5 minus 1, 31. How much? 150. Okay, so this makes it 150, in which no box remains empty, right? Please. You are going to put balls in boxes, not boxes in balls. Please sit down. I have explained this to you in the past. Right? You're not going to put boxes in balls. You understand that? Because if you have that big, then you might as well do that. But otherwise, avoid doing that. So D1, D2, DK are what? Are divisors of a positive integer n, including 1 and n. These are the comprehensive set of divisors of a natural number n greater than 1. This includes 1 and n, the number. And it's given that the sum of these divisors is 72. We want to find 1 by d1 plus 1 by d2 plus 1 by dk. Now answer this question. If d1 is a divisor of n, then is n by d1 also a divisor of n? N by d1 will also be a divisor of n, yes or no? And it's and some di will match n by d1. N by d1 will also be a divisor of n. Huh? No? N by d2 will also be a divisor of n. And it will be some number here. N by d3 will also be a divisor of n. It will be equal to some divisor here. N by dk will also be a divisor of n. Some number here. And this must also be 72. It's the same set rearranged. Yes or no? So then what? Summation 1 by d1. That is 72 by n. 72 by n. Yes or no? No, but that's given. Some number n. Some number n. So it depends on n then, right? How can it be? Some of the divisors, will it be unique for every n? It is not like there is 1-to-1 relationship between the sum of the divisors and a natural number n. That may not be the case. We are assuming that. I understand that. What you are saying is this should uniquely determine n. No. How is n uniquely determined? There can be many values of n such that the sum of the divisors is 72. N is less than 72. N is included in this. 1 is also included in this. So naturally, n is less than 72. So we have reduced it to 1 to 72. 1 is not right, which is true. 2 to 72. Right. No way to determine n between. No, there is no way to determine n between. That's why n is given. N is a number, natural number. There is no way to determine that. Total number of positive integers with distinct digits. So obviously, there cannot be infinite number because there are only 10 distinct digits, 0 to 9. Right? So at best, there can be a 10-digit number with distinct digits from pigeonhole principle. Because if there is you can't have a 11-digit number with all digits different, right? It defies pigeonhole principle because there are only 10 digits, right? 10 pigeons and 11 pigeonholes, right? Isn't it? So first of all, it's not infinite, it's finite only. The number of numbers with all digits different, cannot be a number more than a 10-digit number. It can at best be a 10-digit number, right? So, there can be single-digit numbers. So, how many cases? 9 cases. There can be a 2-digit number. How many cases? So, 9 ways of filling up this and 9 ways of filling up this. So, 9 into 9. 3-digit numbers. There are 9 ways of filling up this, 9 ways of filling up this, but 8 ways of filling up this. All digits different. Yeah, we have taken 0 into consideration, but in a 3-digit number, 0 will not appear here. But 0 could appear in these two places, right? See, this place can be filled up from 1 to 9 only if it's a 3-digit number. So there are 9 ways of filling up this. Now, from 0 to 9, exclude the number that you have registered here. So then there are 9 digits left. And then there are 8 digits left for the third place. So 9 into 9 into 8. Similarly, 4-digit numbers. 9 into 9 into 8 into 7. And going this way, the next 5-digit number would be 9 into 9 into 8 into 7 into 6. Then this one was 9 into 9 into 8 into 7. And then there was 9 into 9 into 8. And then there was a 9 into 9. And then there was a 9, and you keep going this way. Eventually, the last one will become a 8 factorial. So the last member of the series is going to be 9 into 9 into 8 factorial. That's the count. Very clearly. This is less than 9 is less than 10. 9 square is less than 10 squared. This is less than 10 cubed. Up to n terms. That means this is less than summation 10 to power r equal to 1 to 10. 1 to 10. This is less than this. Isn't it? Huh? So there are two options correct. B and D. Seven is very simple. Summation r into r factorial r equal to 1 to n is a telescope. This is summation r plus 1 minus 1 into r factorial r equal to 1 to n. But r plus 1 into r factorial is r plus 1 factorial. So this is summation r plus 1 factorial minus r factorial r equal to 1 to n. So for r equal to 1, for example, this will become like a 2 factorial minus 1 factorial. For r equal to 2, it will become 3 factorial minus 2 factorial. Similarly, r equal to 3, it will become a 4 factorial minus 3 factorial. R equal to n, it will become a n plus 1 factorial minus n factorial. And again, you can see there is a clear-cut cancellation, telescopic cancellation of terms here. This would have got cancelled. You are simply left with two virgin terms, n plus 1 factorial minus 1. Right? So we are talking of position vectors R created out of numbers A, B and C. Where A, B, C belong to the set 1, 2, 3, 4. A, B, C belong to this set. And 2 to power A plus 3 to power B plus 5 to power C. We want this to be divisible by 4. We want this to be divisible by 4. That is what we want here. How many such position vectors exist? Now this is a very simple problem. Now this could be written as 2 to power A plus 4 minus 1 to power B plus 4 plus 1 to power C. Yes or no? Now, remember I gave you a brief snippet of binomial theorem. If you expand this, all terms will contain 4 except the last term, which is minus 1 to power B. The last term of this expansion is 1 to power C. That will not contain 4. Everything else will contain 4. Right? Yes or no? So, divisibility of this by 4 actually means is equivalent to talking of divisibility of 2 to power A plus minus 1 to power B plus 1 to power C by 4. Yes or no? Because except for the last term of this expansion, which is minus 1 to power b, and the last term of this expansion, 1 to power c, all of the terms are anyways divisible by 4. So we need to examine the condition that will cause the remaining terms. That means these terms to be divisible by 4, yes or no? Right? Okay. Now c anyways could take any value, because this will anyways be 4 ways. 4 ways of selecting c from this set. So it will not matter. See, for example, if a is 1, and b is odd, what would it lead to? Will it lead to divisibility by 4? No. If b is odd, then this will become minus 1 and this will become plus 1, which is 0. So b cannot be odd. B has to be even. If a is 1, then b has to be even. And c can be anything. Because, right? Because if a is 1, this will become 2. And if b is even, this will become 1 plus 1. So this will become 4 and it will be deemed divisible by 4. Yes or no? In order that this is, if a is 1 for example, what would this become? This will become 2 to power 2 plus minus 1 to power b plus 1 to power c. Right? Now if b is odd, this will become 0 and this will not be divisible by 4. This will become 2, so not divisible by 4. Therefore, b cannot be odd. B has to be even. If b is even, this will become 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 4. So in this, if a is 1, b can be any even number. 2 ways of selecting b. 2 ways of selecting b. And c can be anything. C can be selected in 4 ways. So if a is 1, there are 8 possibilities of a, b and c that will cause this number to be divisible by 4. Yes or no? If a is not 1, if a is not 1, if a is greater than 1, this anyways will be divisible by 4. Yes or no? If a is not 1, 2 to power a will anyways be divisible by 4. Yes or no? If a is greater than 1, this will always be divisible by 4. And now, if b is even, this will be 2. Then on dividing by 4, the remainder would be 2. So b cannot be even. You know what I'm saying? If a is greater than 1, this is divisible by 4. And if b is even, this becomes 2. So, which is not good. Then this number will not be divisible by 4, because this will be divisible by 4. This will leave a remainder 2 on dividing by 4. So b cannot be even. B therefore must be odd, because if b is odd, this will become minus 1 plus 1. So c can be any value from 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? A, if not 1, can assume 3 values. A can assume 3 values. Right? 2, 3, 4. B, it should not be even. So b can assume values like 1 and 3. So 2 ways of selecting b, and c can be any one of these values. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 ways of selecting this. Right? So the number of ways of selecting a and b and c would be 3 into 2 into 4. That makes it 24. Yes or no? So 24 plus 8, which makes it 32 cases. So there are 32 ways of selecting this position vector, or 32 ways of selecting this position vector are given the condition. Yes or no? Are you all okay with this? Ayush, tell me. I have no problem explaining it again if you want. I'm creating position vectors. So why can't a and b be equal, a and c be equal, or a, b and c all be equal? Isn't it? That's permissible, right, in a position vector? Number 9 is about all 3-digit numbers x, y, z. All 3-digit numbers x, y, z in which this is the digit at the hundreds place. Digit at the hundreds place is greater than the other two digits. We want this digit to be greater than y and z both, right? How many such numbers exist in which 3-digit numbers in which the digit at the hundreds place is more than the other two digits? Okay. Now, see if x is 1, x obviously can't be 0, right? If x is 1, then y and z can be both 0. So, if x is 1, there is only one number which enjoys this property. Y and z both have to be 0. Yes or no? But if x is 2, then y can assume values like 0 and 1, and z can also assume values like 0 and 1. That means 2 values to assign to y into 2 values that you can assign to z. That means if x is 2, then the required number of ways in which y and z could be selected is 2 squared. If x is 3, then y can be 0, 1, 2, 3 ways. Z can be 0, 1, 2, 3 ways. That means y and z can be selected in 3 square ways. Y and z can be selected in 3 squared ways. Similarly, if this is 4 square ways going this way. If x is 9, then there would be 9 square ways. So the total number of ways would be 1 squared plus 2 squared plus 3 squared plus 4 squared. Required number of ways would be 1 squared plus 2 squared plus 9 squared. Sum of the first 9 squares of the first 9 natural numbers. So which is n into 19 into 10 by 6. Whatever this turns out to be. 285? 285 ways. Right? Got me? Okay. Number 10. Number of triplets. We want to select number of triplets x, y, z from the set 1, 2, 3, 10 such that x is less than or equal to y, less than z. X is less than or equal to y, less than z. Subject to this condition, we want to select 3 numbers x, y and z. So there are 2 different possibilities which we can add. Possibility 1, x less than y less than z, suppose. Right? Suppose now you have to select 3 different numbers. So if you just select 3 numbers, different numbers, and you arrange them in this order, there is only one way, isn't it? So it's all about selecting 3 numbers, 10C3, isn't it? It's all about just selecting 3 numbers, 10C3, which you can do in 10C3 ways. And then arrange them with x less than y less than z in only one way. If you have selected 3 different numbers, then there is only one way in which you can arrange them in this order. Yes or no? Or this case, or the second case, x equal to y but less than z. So what you do is you select only 2 numbers. The bigger one you call as z, the smaller one are x and y. 10C2, absolutely, very good. That is 10C2 ways. So the total count would be this plus this, absolutely. 10C3 plus 10C2 would be the total count. Have you computed this? No? Whatever it turns out. How much is it? 165? Okay. 11C3 हो जाएगा. NCR plus NCR minus 1 is N plus 1 CR. My students are smart. Now, problem number 11. The number of positive 11 is, S is a set which is 1, 2, 3, N. S is the set. Now, what we are doing is, we are creating all subsets of S. S with exactly 2 distinct elements. We are creating all subsets of S with exactly two distinct elements. These sets are referred to as A's, right? With exactly two distinct elements. What we want to do is, we want to take the minimum of each of these subsets. We want to take the minimum of each of these subsets. There are variety of these subsets, say, with two distinct elements. And from each one of them, I take the smaller value and I sum it up. This is what I want to be able to do. I create all subsets of S with two distinct elements. And from each of those subsets, I take the smaller value of that subset and I add all the smaller values. This is what I want to be able to do. You understand the problem or not? Okay. Say if there is a member I here, and I obviously can be 0 to n. Suppose there is a member I here. I is the smallest element of n minus I subsets. I maintain that I is the smallest element of n minus I subsets. Tell me. See, if I select a member I here, then the subset in which I is the smallest, the second element can be selected in n minus I ways, can be I plus 1, I plus 2. The remaining n minus I elements could be the second element of a subset with I being the smallest. Yes or no? That means there are n minus I subsets in which I is the smallest element. There are n minus I subsets in which I is the smallest element. Yes or no? That's a special case. Well, 0 is not included here, yeah. So, in this case, I lying between 1 and n. Right? So, do you understand this? I is the smallest element of n minus I subsets. Yes or no? I can range from 1 to n. So, in n minus I subsets, if you add their i's, for these n minus I subsets, if you add their i's, what do you get? I into n minus I, because I appears n minus I times. Right? Right? Yes or no? And what is it that I want to do? This is the sum of all subsets with I as the smallest element. But there could be subsets with I equal to 1, I equal to 2, or I equal to n. Yes or no? This is the sum that we are seeking here. Yes or no? See, I select all subsets in which I is the smallest element. In those subsets, the second element has to be after I. There are n minus I ways of selecting the second element, right? That means there are n minus I subsets in which I is the smallest. So, the minimum value of those subsets is, if you add up all their minimum values, I plus I plus I plus I, how many times? N minus I times. So that is I into n minus I. But I could have been 1, I could have been 2. This will give me subsets with 1 as the smallest element, subsets with 2 as the smallest element, and so on and so forth. I need to add all of them. This is what I'm seeking to do. Yes or no? Right now? So this is summation ni minus summation I squared, I equal to 1 to n. N will wriggle out of this summation. It's independent of I. And then this would be the sum of the first n natural numbers. This is the sum of the squares of the first n natural numbers. Yes or no? Right? So this becomes like n into n plus 1 by 2 minus n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 by 6, which is n into n plus 1 by 6a. So 3n minus 2n plus 1, which is n minus 1. So n minus 1 into n plus 1 by 6. Yes or no? Right? Clear? Can it be reduced? This is n plus 1. If I multiply with n into n minus 1, so n minus 2 factorial, n plus 1 C3. Is it n plus 1 C3? Yeah, it is n plus 1 C3. Because see, if I multiply with n minus 2 factorial, this will become 3 factorial, n minus 2 factorial. So this becomes n plus 1 factorial by 3 factorial into n plus 1 minus 3 factorial, k factorial by r factorial into k minus r factorial is n plus 1 C3. That is n plus 1 C3 is what this reduces to. Number 12. We want to find number of positive integer pairs x comma y such that 1 by x plus 1 by y is 1 by 2007, where x is less than y. 1 by x plus 1 by y is 1 by 2007, where x is less than y. Number of positive integer pairs, x comma y, where x is less than y, satisfying this condition. Okay. So this is 2007 x plus y equals xy. Yes or no? Or xy minus 2007 x plus y equal to 0. Now think of it. Sum of the roots, this product of the roots, to convert it into a factor at 2007 squared. X squared minus x into alpha plus beta plus alpha beta. Do you realize the algebra will look a little neater if I add 2007 squared on both sides? Yes or no? Because now this will reduce to 2007 minus x into 2007 minus y, because x and y are the roots of this. If 2007 was x, right? That's equal to 2007 squared? Yes or no? Tell me, nahi. And you understand the rationale why I performed this manipulation? Why I was compelled to add 2007 squared on both sides? Yes or no? Now, see, which means 2007 minus x and 2007 minus y must be divisors of 2007 squared. Yes or no? Right? 2007 minus x and 2007 minus y must be divisors of 2007 squared. Yes or no? Must be divisors of 2007 squared. Yes or no? Right. Let me find out the number of divisors of 2007 squared. Alright. First of all, 2007 is 3 into 6 into 6 to 9. 3 squared into 2 to 3. That's 2007. Yes or no? And 2 to 3 is a prime, so no further fragmentation. 2007 squared is going to be 3 to the power 4 into 2 to 3 squared. Yes or no? Expressed as product of powers of primes? Expressed as product of powers of primes. So number of divisors of 2007 squared now is going to be 5 into 3, 4 plus 1 into 2 plus 1. Have I not told you the number of divisors, number of factors of a given number? No. Is 4 plus 1 into 2 plus 1, which is 15 divisors? Yes or no? No. Essentially, what is it that I'm trying to find? Trying to find the number of ways in which 2007 squared could be expressed as a product of two numbers. Yes or no? In which they are different. This is different because x is different from y. In which these are different. One is smaller, the other one is larger. I'm trying to find the number of ways in which 2007 squared could be expressed as product of two integers. This is all that I'm trying to find effectively, right? In my scheme of things, when I start to elaborate on factors of 2007 squared, there are 15 factors in all, of which 2007 is one factor. Yes or no? Of which 2007 is one factor. Which is, because this is a perfect square, because this is a perfect square of 2007 squared, 2007 is one of the factors which is a perfect square. Now if I arrange those factors in increasing order, out of 15 factors this is 1, 7 of those factors will be before this and 7 of those factors will be after this, and this will be exactly halfway between those. Yes or no? So there would be 7 factors before this, say A1, A2, A3, A7, and there would be 7 factors after this, B1, B2, B7. That makes it 15 factors in all. That makes it 15 factors in all. Yes or no? Right. Now, so I want to express 2007 squared. These are all the factors of 2007 squared as product of unequal factors, unequal numbers. So what I could have done is, I could have selected this as 1 and the product of these two as the second one. That's one way. Or I could have selected A2 and I could have selected A1, A2 and product of these two of the rest as second factor. I could have selected A1, A2, A3 and then the product of the rest. Yes or no? Yes or no? You know what I'm saying? So the first number could have been A1, A2, A3, A7. There are 7 ways. There are only 7 ways. Yes or no? There are only 7 ways. I could have done that. So there are only 7 ways in which I could have expressed 2007 squared as product of two factors. Unequal factors. Product of two unequal factors. These are unequal. 2007 minus x and 2007 minus y are unequal factors. So there are only 7 ways in which this could be expressed as product of two unequal factors. 7 ways. Yes or no? See, I want to express this as product of two factors. Product of two factors. What are the various ways in which I could have done this? Unequal factors. Okay. I could have said it's A1 into the rest. That would be 2007 squared, right? It could be A2 into the rest. It could be A3 into the rest, A4 into the rest, A7 into the rest. Yes or no? 7 ways. After this I don't do, because you know I'm going to get the same pair replicated. If I go beyond this, I'm going to get the same pair replicated, isn't it? A1 into the rest, A2 into the rest, A3 into the rest, and A7 into the rest. 7 ways, right? So there are 7 ways of expressing 2007 squared as product of distinct factors. It's product of distinct factors. Yes or no? So there are 7 solutions in positive integers to this equation in which x is less than y. 13. There are 256 identical balls. Only Pradyum can imagine this. Babaji. To be placed in 16 numbered boxes. These are the boxes. These are the 16 numbered boxes. This is R equal to 1, R equal to 2, R equal to 3, R equal to 16. There are these 256 identical balls and they have to be placed in 16 boxes numbered 1, 2, 3, 16. Okay. Such that the rth box contains at least R balls. Such that the rth box contains at least R balls. That means what I should do is I should first give each box the minimum number of balls they must have. So the first box must have at least one ball. Assign the minimum number of balls. Second box, 2 balls. Third box, 3 balls. 16th box, 16 balls. Right? So that makes it 16 into 17 by 2, 136, right? 136 balls have been used up. Yes or no? Now each box will satisfy the minimum requirement. So 136 balls have been already assigned with the given condition. Now how many balls remain? 120 balls remain. Identical, and they have to be now given in to 16 boxes. N things to be distributed in R boxes, to be given to R people. N things to be given to R people with one or more person getting nothing. Yes or no? That is N plus R minus 1 C R minus 1. Do you remember that? If there are N identical things and they have to be N identical things to be given to R people with the possibility of a person getting nothing is N plus R minus 1 C R minus 1. This is N, this is R. So the number of ways in which this could be done is N plus R minus 1 C R minus 1. So that makes it 136, 135 C 16 ways. There is only one way of doing this. Into the rest of the balls could be distributed in these boxes with one or more box getting nothing is 135 C6 15 15 135 C 15. That's the count. This is the answer. 135 C 15. Yes or no? Right? Number 14. 6 numbers are chosen in a game. 1, 2, 3, 48, 49. 6 numbers are first chosen from this. In how many ways without condition can you choose 6 numbers from this? 49 C6 ways. Now, what is it that we want? We want out of these only those in which there is at least one pair of neighbor. At least one pair of neighbor. That means, either 1, 2 is there, or 2, 3 is there, or 48, 49 is there, at least one pair of neighbors. In how many of these cases there would be at least one pair of neighbors? That's the count that we are seeking. Right? Okay. So from 49, we can select in all 49 C6 ways. 6 can be selected in 49 C ways. So if we are selecting 6, how many are we not selecting? 43 we are not selecting, right? So NS1 is one non-selected entity. NS2 is the second non-selected entity. NS3 the third non-selected entity. NS43. These are the 43 non-selected entities. Let me carry out a complement of this count. I want to select 6 in a manner that no two are neighboring. Let me select 6 in a manner that no two are neighboring. Then for 49C6, I remove that count. Then I would get the count in which at least one neighboring pair is prevalent. Yes or no? You know what I'm saying? There are 49C6 ways of selecting 6 of these from 49. What is it that I'm seeking to find? The count in this 49C6 in which there is at least one pair of neighbor. I'm going to perform a complement of this count. I'm going to carry out a count in which there is no neighbor present. And from 49C6, I'm going to remove that count. I'm going to get the count in which there is at least one pair of neighbor. That's a problem that I'm going to take care of. Yes or no? Okay. Now out of 49, 43 are non-selected. 43 are non-selected. I want to select 6 such that no two are neighboring. Now if no two are neighboring, these are prospective locations of selecting 6. These are permissible locations of selecting 6. Then no two would be neighboring? No two would be neighboring? Yes or no? Now how many of these arrows are there? 44 arrows are there? Yes or no? I want to select how many of them such that no two arrows are neighboring? 44C6. There are 44 arrows. I want to select 6. Now, in this case, there is no possibility of any 2 arrows being neighboring. These are representative of the selected items. The selected items float in this array of arrows. This is where the selected items lie. Right? And there are 44 of these arrows. In how many ways can I select 6? 44C6. That means this will give me a count in which no 2 are neighboring. Because these arrows, no 2 of these arrows are neighboring. They are at least separated by one non-selected item. So no 2 arrows are neighboring. So in 44C6 ways, I can select 6 such that no 2 are neighboring. From 49C6, I would then exclude this count. This would include those in which there is at least one pair of neighbors. Yes or no? 15. There are 10 children. A1, A2, A3, A10. Alright. These are their designated locations. These are the seats on which the 10 children are seated. Now, I'm allowing various permutations of these, various rearrangement of these. But I don't want in any rearrangement any child to be shifted by more than one unit. That means, I can't have an arrangement in which, A1 suddenly appears here. No, A1 will either appear here in any count or will appear here. A2 could either appear here or instead of where A3 is. You know what I'm saying? I want in how many ways can these 10 children be arranged in a row such that in all these counts there is a reference count, including this reference count. This is a reference count, reference arrangement. In any other arrangement that I'm creating out of this, no child should look displaced by more than one unit with respect to the reference arrangement. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, for example, A1 could be here, A3 could be here, and A2 could be there, and the rest all in one. Right? So I want all possible ways of arranging these children, including this reference arrangement, in which in any of these rearrangements, no child will look displaced by more than one unit with respect to its reference arrangement. You know what I'm saying? See, suppose there were n children. Suppose there were n children. Now, there are only two possibilities. Either, in any arrangement of this, either A1 remains in place or A1 moves to A2 and A2 moves to A1. In any rearrangement of this, either A1 is in place and the rest are moved commensurate with the original condition, or A1 moves to A2 and A2 moves to A1, and the rest could be arranged in any number of ways. Yes or no? Now, suppose A1 remains in position. Suppose this case, A1 remains in position. And there are Tn number of ways of arranging all of this. Suppose if there are n children, there are Tn number of ways of rearranging all of this. Okay. Which means if A1 is in position, then how many children are there? N minus 1. In how many ways can the remaining n minus 1 children be rearranged? Tn minus 1 ways. Yes or no? If Tn is a total count, then part of Tn are the cases in which A1 is fixed and the remaining n minus 1 children can be arranged in Tn minus 1 ways. Yes or no? The rest of the count is where A1 moves to A2, this case. A1 moves to A2 and A2 moves to A1. Swap their positions. The remaining n minus 2 people can be rearranged with the given rule in Tn minus 2 ways. Yes or no? Of the total count, part of the count is where A1 remains in position and the rest of the count is where A1 is not in position. A1 and A2 are interchanged. Yes or no? So I need to find Tn. I want to find T10 because there are 10 children. I want to find T10. Yes or no? I want to find T10. Okay. Tell me what would T1 be if there is only one child? There is only one arrangement. If there are two children, AB and BA, how many arrangements? 2. Now, T3 from this rule would be T1 plus T2? Would be 3. T4, we want T10. T4 would be T3 plus T2 from that rule? 5. T5 would be 8. T6 would be 13. T7 would be 21. T8 would be 34. T9 would be 55. T10 would be 89. T10 is what we were seeking to find. T10 is 89. I can also solve this recursive equation, but for the time being I'll let it go. But this recursive equation can explicitly be, Tn can be explicitly solved in terms of n. Like the Fibonacci sequence, this can also be solved exclusively in terms of n. But for the time being, since it's only T10, this was easier. This count was, so the required count for 10 children is 89 ways in which it could be carried out. Now the number of ways, 16, in which we could select all rational numbers m by n. Positive, m and n are positive. M and n are natural numbers and are relatively prime. M and n are relatively prime. Obviously, then they are natural numbers as well, such that m is less than n, but m into n must be 25 factorial. M into n must be 25 factorial. I want to find in how many ways the pairs mn could be selected such that m into n is 25 factorial, m is less than n, and m and n are relatively prime. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about selecting in how many ways you can select m and n commensurate with this condition. The number of ways in which you can select m and n would give you the required number of rational numbers. Yes or no? Okay. 25 factorial is a goddamn huge number to deal with, isn't it? Very big number. But m into n, which is 25 factorial, okay, up to, that means 1 into 2 into 3 up to 25. What are the various primes that appear up to 25? There is 2 to the power alpha 1. Eventually, let me just populate the primes. There is going to be 3 to the power alpha 2. There is going to be 5 appearing as a prime. 7 appearing as a prime. All primes will appear. And the prime just before 25 is 23. 23. Alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, alpha 4. 23 now. 23, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23. That's the 9th prime. So alpha 9. 23 is the 9th prime, isn't it? Yes or no? It's the 9th prime. So 25 factorial can be dealt with this way? Yes or no? Okay. Now, it's about 2 to power alpha 1. It could either be given to m or given to n, in order that I could express as a product. M and n are relatively prime. So it's not like I could give part of 2 to power alpha 1 to m and part of 2 to power alpha 1 to n. Why can't I do that? Because m and n are relatively prime. So these numbers would go en masse to either m or to n. That will prevent m and n from having any common factor. You know what I'm saying? So there are 2 ways I can delegate 2 to power alpha 1. Either given to m or given to n, to cause them to have no common factor. There are 2 ways I can give 3 to power alpha 2, either to m or to n. 2 ways of doing this. 2 ways of doing this. That makes it 2 to power 9. But in half of these cases, m is bigger than n. In the remaining half of these cases, m is less than n. So what I need is half of this count. So the required count is 2 to power 9 by 2. That makes it 2 to power 8 would be the count in which m is less than n. 2 to power 9 count in all. In half of these cases, m will be bigger than n. In the remaining half, m will be less than n. Yes or no?